Trade and other such movements. What town can keep up such a race as ours for fine improvement? For of late, what sights of alterations, streets and buildings, changing stations, country folk as they
all began when Tim Chatterton, who was the education officer at Band on the Wall, walked into the office one day with the book by Harry Boardman called The Manchester Ballads.
I was a resident at Harry Boardman's folk club in the 1980s, and in 1983 he published this book, Manchester Ballads, with Roy Palmer. Harry was already singing some of these things anyway, but when this came out, we had a look at it and thought we could do something with these things.
What Gavin did, I think he went away and researched it for himself and found out that there was some really, really good songs on this broadside catalogue of songs.
Then we got David in to do the research on the songs and kind of try and check out some of the actual history behind the songs.
Well, I spoke to Gavin, I suppose, about the project in, I think, January, February time this year, and he mentioned that Tim, the education officer at Band on the Wall, had shown him these. This is a copy I bought on eBay, because it's out of print now. So around about that time, and Gavin explained that rather than doing more songs, they were looking at doing some of these ballads and working them into the sets, and I think the project just kind of grew from there.
So the broadside was printed songs that were distributed through the markets of Manchester, were a single sheet, cheap paper. We believe they were bought by singers who then performed in the pubs across the city, and was in many respects a means for spreading news. I was first told about Jennifer by Tim, who lent me the book in the first place. But I didn't really know what to expect. But when I finally met her, she was this remarkable and energetic anarchist from Bury that knew more about these songs than one should imagine of a 24-year-old.
The thing about broadsides is they're absolutely flexible. So sometimes you get a tune, but you don't ever have to adhere to the tune. And a lot of the time when I see them, it's a luxury to have a tune mentioned at the top, and to be honest, that tune's probably already disappeared into the ether anyway. I
mean, there's 35 ballads in there. A lot of them are very wordy. A lot of them have no tunes as such. There's a tune suggested in there.
You know, no two people have sung them in the pub in the same way. The tunes are suggestions rather than strict things, and they were often sung to different tunes anyway. And I think they've used some of the melodies where possible, but just worked them into different styles. So the presence of a horn section and a backbeat, I think is fine. You know, I think if there was a tradition of distributing ballads in pubs and markets now, and it's a shame there isn't, you know, they would be done in a modern style, not in an old style. Because we think of it as old, then it was a modern style.
This song which I have lately penned concerning the meeting which have now took place, hunger rise for to gain and to better our case. The time it has come, the work has begun to be free, or forever be slaves. The Union lad, this day is the time, reformers will now both their end and hearts join. For freedom and liberty now is the cry, to no longer be slaves but like free men to die. So let us be steady, determined and ready when we meet on Curse No More.
I like Curse More in particular. I think apart from the fact it's a really good story about an important event, I think the way the band have done it, it sounds like a standard that they've been doing for 20 years. I think it sounds really good. But also the content of the song, kind of that whole protesting tradition and marches to do with kind of Mancunian descent it's a strong theme in a lot of the ballads, but it really is summed up in that. It's a good song, yeah, really good.
The remarkable thing about these songs really is that they are so political. I mean, given that, as far as we can tell, the sponsors, the people who commissioned the songs, were the printers, were business people. And they started printing and reproducing these songs. I mean, obviously for business purposes, to sell on the market, and they sold them at a penny a time. But having said that, there's lots of the content is remarkably controversial, I would imagine, given the context of the time, because, of course, back in those days, during the Industrial Revolution, which is when these songs were written, if you didn't own a property, then you couldn't vote. So, for the most part, this was a call to action for the voiceless working classes.
So let us be steady, determined and ready when we meet on Thursday morning. The time it has come, the work has begun to be free.
They're still relevant today, and I'm noticing more and more links with like how the Industrial Revolution never stopped. It's just moved to Bangladesh and China and all these places that it gives them international relevance that people wouldn't just think by looking at an old piece of text and thinking, oh, okay, in a museum. And that's why I feel like I'm the mediator that needs to bring them to the public in a different way.
The times have changed, but the issues are still the same. And yeah, so a lot of what's in those songs really resonate with what's going on in this time.
The world has begun to be free or forever be slaves. So let us be steady, determined and ready when we meet voice on some more.
We managed to put in 10 festival dates over the summer, and then we also built in a number of pop-up events. So we did one at the Angel Inn, we did another one here, we performed up at part of Homegrown Festival for a free event up there. We also took Jennifer, Reid, along with us to many of the gigs to talk about the songs and to introduce us and to sing some of the songs on the stages at the festivals. And so it's been a great summer, and I think that there's lots of people out there know about this material that previously didn't. This project would not have been possible without the support of the Arts Council, the support of Heritage Lottery Fund, and the support of Band on the Wall. And we are very grateful for that. It has meant that we have been able to, for at least 18 months, champion this amazing part of Manchester's musical history and make sure that it's not forgotten.
I'm a poor cotton weaver, as many one knows. I've now to eat in the house and I've worn out my clothes. You'd hardly give sixpence for all I have on. Me clogs they are brossen and stockings I've none. You would think it were hard to be sent into the world to clem and do best that you can. Our church parson kept telling us long we should have better times if we'd hold all our tongues. Well, I've howdened my tongue till I can hardly draw breath. I think in my heart he means to clem me to death. I know he lives weel by backbiting the deal, but he never picked